If you want to stand out from the crowd, you need those original insights. You need to draw on your expertise. But it's not just about having ideas. The skill lies in implementing them. You don't have to have been an architect for 20 years. You just have to have the vision. You have to know what's happening in the next 5 years. It's not about what's gone before, it's about what's coming next.
Welcome to Architecture Business Club, the show that helps you build a better business in architecture so you can enjoy more freedom, flexibility and fulfillment. If you're joining us for the first time, don't forget to hit the follow or subscribe button so you never miss another episode. Antoinette Chappell has worked in two professions heavily transformed by AI and automation, yet has remained resilient and agile throughout. As a translator, she spotted automation trends early and pivoted into copywriting in 2019, ahead of the industry curve. And in 2023, she wrote Copy That to help fellow translators develop additional revenue streams, guidance that professional bodies are only now advocating. Antoinette now specialises in executive thought leadership, transforming busy leaders' insights into compelling long-form content. To connect with Antoinette on LinkedIn, just click the link in the show notes. Antoinette, welcome to Architecture Business Club.
Thank you for having me, John. I'm very happy to be here.
It's great to have you here. I'm really interested, though. We've got a great topic to talk about, but what do you like to do outside of work when you are not busy with the profession?
Yeah, when I'm not busy doing my day job, as it were, running my business or spending time with my family, I've got two little grandchildren who I love spending time with. I'll go swimming. I'm a big swimmer. So I try and swim every day. Something I do that makes me feel better mentally and physically. I do a lot of my thinking in the pool. I think that's largely to do with the fact that my phone is locked away in the locker. But there's something about the repetitiveness of swimming. I don't know. My brain goes into a different state where I can just kind of do high level thinking and strategizing. I don't know why. Even though I'm surrounded by swimmers, often manically going, backwards and forwards doing their front crawl. I just zone out. I can't explain it. But yeah, I'm always my happiest in the pool. There you go. That's what I do.
Oh, that sounds really good. It reminds me that I've been telling myself for a while that I need to get some more exercise. And I always enjoyed swimming, and it's something I haven't done for ages. So maybe I need to dig out my shorts and get back to the pool. Yeah. Absolutely.
And you're going on holiday, aren't you, next week? So that's a good time for
I am. Yeah, I'm not sure that I'll be doing, lengths of the pool, so to speak, but I might be lounging. Cocktails by the pool sounds good. Yeah, I could go for that. Yeah, that's my holiday style. We're going to talk about how we can use written content to build your authority so that you can become a thought leader in your sector. I think probably the best place to start with this is thought leader and thought leadership. Like, I think people might have heard that terminology thrown around, but maybe not understand exactly what it means. So what does it mean to be a thought leader?
Right. Okay. What being a thought leader means, it means that you're looking at your industry, you're seeing what's wrong and you want to change it. And you can also see what's coming down the pipe. The people I work with, they often have a bit of a fire in their belly. They're looking at the status quo and going, I'm so frustrated by X, Y, Z. Why does everyone do it this way? It'd be so much better if we did it this way. And then they start talking about that. And they've got years of experience usually in their field. And they see the bigger picture. They're visionaries. And that conversation, that to me is a thought leader. Examples would include, a great example is Richard Branson. Think back to the 80s or 90s, when I think it was the 80s, wasn't it? He started Virgin, doing the flights because he looked at British Airways and said, they're doing it wrong. This is annoying me so much. I'm going to start my own airline. We want people like that to be our thought leaders. We want people who are slightly disruptive. Another example might be, not very popular at the moment, but, Elon Musk, someone who looks at what's going on, say, with the automotive industry and says, no, we're going to shake that up. We're going to do things differently. We need to. So I like working with people. The people I work with to help them establish themselves as a thought leader are people that are passionate about change. So they don't want things to stay the same. and they've got a plan about how to change it.
I love that explanation. So clear. In particular, the point you mentioned there at the beginning there was about that they see a different or better way to do things, or that they're already doing something a different way. They want to see wider change in their industry. So it's kind of like having something that is, maybe something that you do or you believe that's different to convention, that's different to the norm.
Exactly.
That you can become known for. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So what are the benefits of being seen as a thought leader?
Okay. The benefits depend on who you are. So if you're an employee, if you're a C-suite executive, the benefits for you on a personal level will be that you're more likely to be headhunted. You're more likely to be noticed, and you're going to be offered better positions. So you're going to have that career growth. You're also going to help you drive your company forward, because executive content has 8 times more engagement than corporate pages, because, we all know people buy from people, people engage with people. And you also have that knock-on effect of employee advocacy. So it helps with talent retention and attraction. So you're going to attract the best staff. If everyone knows who you are and you're constantly sort of online talking about how fantastic your staff are and your company is and what you're doing and the latest innovations, people are going to want to work for that company. Think of someone like Stephen Bartlett, who doesn't want to work for him. That's one thing. But if you're a founder, again, Stephen Bartlett is a founder, rather than being employed, he's also an investor. But if you're a founder, it makes your company a whole lot more valuable. So if you have an exit plan strategy where you want to sell your company in 5 years' time, becoming a thought leader is a really good way of increasing the value of your company. So that's
there's some compelling reasons to consider being a thought leader for sure. That was an interesting point you mentioned about how executive content versus like a corporate page. So I suppose, like in the example of LinkedIn, would that be, say, posting something on your LinkedIn personal profile versus the company page as the CEO of your business? Yeah.
The CEO of Marks and Spencer, for example, I follow him, and they'll have a new sandwich range, seasonally, different things coming out, and he'll do a post about it. And that gets a whole lot more engagement, I think, than just the M&S corporate page. And then the employees get to interact with their CEO that they wouldn't normally perhaps get to speak to. Thought leadership as well, it's not just about the content, it's about your comments, following it up in the comments, so people get to know who you are as well. It's not just always about what's going on in the industry. People follow people that they look up to and that they respect, and whose values, resonate with theirs. So that is to it. Interesting once you dig into it.
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah. Let's talk about content. When it comes to building your authority, why is long form content better than short form content? And when we talk about long form content, I mean, we're typically talking about things like long form blog articles. It could be a long LinkedIn newsletter. It could be a podcast interview like this. It could be a long YouTube video, versus short form being the little snippets, like the tiny short Instagram post or the 15-second TikTok, video, that sort of thing. So why is long form better than short form when it comes to building your authority?
Yeah, it's not necessarily better. I think you need all those things. It's 2025, so you do need short form content as well. But what I specialize in is the long form content, helping people either that want to write it themselves. So I help them with the strategy, what they're going to talk about, creating their content pillars and things like that. So they're not talking about everything. They're being strategic about what they're posting and when they're posting it. They're very clear about who they're talking to, who their target audience is, and what their target audience wants to read about. And they're educating, they're adding value, they're informing them, they're providing insights. So what long form content does that short form doesn't do is it provides an opportunity for people to go deeper. And what I mean by long form content, as you say, it's blogs, it's newsletters, it's LinkedIn articles. I think of it like a pyramid. So you start at the bottom, you might do a blog, sort of 800 to 1,000 words. Then every month you do a newsletter. And these are things that I do. Then I'll do a LinkedIn article. And at the top of that, you've got your business book, because often thought leaders want to create a content library. And what that content library does over time is demonstrate their insights and expertise, position them as that thought leader in their industry. And then it opens doors to opportunities to go and speak, whether that be with the media, on a podcast, in a situation like this, or it might give them the opportunity to attend a conference and be a keynote speaker. And that's what they want. They want to build that platform, and a platform means an opportunity to grow their audience. And that then, over the long term, establishes them as a thought leader and the go-to person in their industry. Does that answer?
Yeah. I think it does. Yeah. So yeah, in producing that type of content, that they're able to build their authority. And you mentioned there about opening up opportunities to grow their business. And you said about opportunities to speak on stage or to secure podcast interviews, all those sorts of things that are going to help you grow personally and professionally, ultimately to be able to grow your business. Yeah. So what about SEO? What sort of long form content do search engines typically favour?
Quality content.
Quality content. Okay. Yeah.
So what do I mean by that? I think that's probably going to be your next question. What I mean by that is it's well written. It has the audience in mind. You're demonstrating expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. We all know there's a lot of content out there generated by ChatGPT and other AI bots, and that's fine. And that serves most businesses well. But if you want to be a thought leader, what ChatGPT, etc., do is they just say the average of what everyone's saying. So you might say, I'm an architect. I want a blog this month about 5 common problems in architecture and how to solve them. And that's fine. You and every other architect in England can do that, and you'll get a very similar blog, and it will address those common problems, but it's not original. Okay, so it's not really going to move you forward and establish you as a thought leader. If you want to stand out from the crowd, you need those original insights. You need to draw on your expertise. And it's not to say you couldn't use AI just to help with, as long as you prompt it properly with your insights and expertise, and then you might get that polished content. But people are getting very used to spotting AI-generated content. And that's why I'm now looking to work with people who want someone like me. I've got this professional background of writing. So having been a translator, I'm used to taking concepts in one language and then distilling what are they actually saying. If I don't understand the source text, I can't reproduce a target text. Okay. And my target text has to read as if it was written in English in the first place, because we always translate into our own language. The point being that search engines recognize quality content. They know if it's answered, if people are engaging with it, okay? And they want it to be well-structured and well-written. It doesn't mean you can't use AI, but use it wisely and curate it properly and edit it. And not everyone don't do that. And make sure you prompt it to use British English. There's a big difference. Localization is something we do, in translation, I'll get asked to translate something from French into English, and it will be my first question: do you want US English? Do you want British English? Do you want Australian English? Do you want Canadian? Which variant, basically? And they're very different, but there's subtle differences, and people don't always think about that.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, and I think just on the AI-generated written content point, tools like ChatGPT and Claude and all the other ones out there, they are really useful tools. They're great. They're really useful. They can save you time, but they are pretty vanilla with the content. I mean, it's like the whole ice cream flavor thing, isn't it? Do we all want vanilla flavor or do we want triple chocolate brownie chunky monkey or whatever it is, So
how do you stand out in that crowded marketplace? Yeah. If you're just posting the same stuff as everyone else because it's perceived easier, but you're actually almost damaging your own reputation. You're not providing value for your audience. You're not providing original content or expertise, and you're not moving that conversation forward. Do we all want to just stay in 2025? No, we don't. The world has to constantly keep moving forward. So we need people to shake things up, and that's how you stand out. That's how you become that thought leader. I'm not saying don't use AI, but use it wisely.
Yeah, I mean, it can get you part of the way there. It might be able to help you with an outline for something, but then you can personalize it, you can customize it, you can add your own tone of voice, those sorts of things. As you say, though, that if we over-rely on it, There's so much content out there now. There's a sea of content, and you're absolutely right. If we want to stand out, we've got to have something that's original, so actually putting in the effort and investing in, being seen as a thought leader, like it's as important as ever, in the days that we live in.
If you Google me, for example, I dominate page one on Google, and that's because I produce consistently long-form content, and I've got a book off sale on Amazon. I was working recently with a CEO of a large company, turns over more than £50 million a year, and yet, if you Google his name, he doesn't even come up on Google, which actually bothered him because his children at school were saying, well, my dad's CEO of XYZ, and then they Google his name, and then their friends are going, never heard of him. No, what, you're lying. That bothered him. And that's why that investment, you can see, on a human level, people, they spend a long time building these careers, but they forget that actually, Google only cares, are you sharing your expertise? Are you providing value for your audience? Are you leading that conversation? And it's, people always think as well, they haven't got, that's something I hear a lot. And that's where they can work with someone like me who will ghostwrite it for them, work with them very closely, establish their tone of voice, etc. And they can just provide voice notes and things, and I can turn that into monthly content. As I said, other people want to write their own content. It's all out there for the doing, but it pays off over time. But it is a marathon. It's not a sprint. It won't help.
Yeah, it's not something where there's like instant, well, typically it's not like instant quick wins. It is something that it's a bit more of a long game, which I think it's just a bit like podcasting, to be honest. So how can we be more strategic with our content?
Well, to start with, have a strategy. So many people I see on LinkedIn, for example, which is the platform I'm on, obviously, it's a scattergun approach. They're just like throwing random posts out as and when it suits them, different times of day, different days of the week, or they've been to a certain event and they'll post about that, but they're not actually providing any valuable content to their audience, demonstrating their expertise. And so they're sort of wondering why perhaps they're not getting the results they want. If we consider LinkedIn is the biggest network in the world and it's free. I use the free version, but it works for me and I get clients through it. You don't need to spend a lot of money. You don't need to have Sales Navigator and spend £80 a month. Okay. You just need to be authentic. You need to invest a little bit of time scheduling your posts. That's what I do. Schedule my posts in a week in advance. If something comes up that I think, I really want to do a post about that, then I can shift next Wednesday's post to the Wednesday after, if it's just a kind of something general about thought leadership. So definitely have a strategy. Know who your target audience is. Know the kind of questions that they have. How can I help them? Put yourselves in their mind. What do they say to you? Is it your industry peers? It probably is, because even though you want to grow your business, once you get respect from your industry peers, they will become your advocates. They will start talking about you and selling for you. Provide them with value first. And that's how then you're the go-to person in your industry. Like, yeah, but you've seen John Clayton. He's amazing. His podcast is awesome, for example. Yeah. And he writes really good blogs, and his newsletter, it's so funny. And I just love everything he says and how he views the world. And that's what you want other people to be talking about you. People don't really tend to ever announce themselves as a thought leader or even know that they are. Other people will recognize it. And that's what you want. When people are saying, I love your content, like you must have people saying, I love your podcast. And it'd be random people you probably don't know, and you wouldn't sit when you're listening. Go on. Does that happen to you?
It does, yeah. I usually when it happens, I keep it. I take a screenshot and I have a little folder where I keep the nice messages and reviews and comments and things. So if I ever need like a little pick me up, I just open that folder up and have a look, and then it just reminds me of the good work that I've been doing.
Oh, that's really nice. That's a really good takeaway, isn't it? I think we could all do that, because occasionally I'll get messages to people to say, I love your content, find it really valuable. And you just think, it's worth doing. Because sometimes you're not sure you don't ever know who the algorithm's presenting it to. You don't know who's read what. Yes, you get some likes, but there's a lot of lurkers as well, aren't there? A lot of people that don't comment or like. And it's always a surprise. People you would never think would be reading your post or listening to your podcast suddenly go, I love your content. You're like, really?
There
Yeah, it
are
does.
a lot of lurkers for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, on LinkedIn. Did you know? I found this out last week. Couldn't believe it. Only 1% of people on LinkedIn actually post. 99% of members on LinkedIn are consumers. So if you are a creator, whether that's long form content, podcast, videos, whatever you're creating in terms of content, you're in that 1%.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty incredible, really, isn't it, when you think about it?
Yeah, that really shocked me.
Yeah, just 1%. Wow.
1% of us are actually creating content on LinkedIn. The rest are just consuming.
When it comes to content, a lot of content that is created by, shall we say, professional service providers. So people like architects. Yeah. Us, architects, interior designers in particular that might be listening to this show. A lot of that content that they produce, it can often fail to land. Like, why do you think that is? Have you got an interesting story about running your architecture practice? Have you done something different in your business that's been hugely successful? Or has a failure taught you an important lesson that you'd be willing to share? Then why not apply to be a guest on this podcast? Just click the link in the show notes to send us your details and get started today. And if you're joining us for the first time, don't forget to hit the follow or subscribe button so you never miss another episode. Now, let's get back to the show.
They haven't got the right strategy. What I say to people who want to be thought leaders is, okay, work out no more than 3 content pillars. And what I mean by that, 3 areas in which you really know your stuff, okay, whatever that may be. And then just focus on them, cycle through those. So when you're scheduling, planning your posts for that month, and do create a content planner. AI is great help for idea generation. Say, these are my content pillars. These are 3 things I know really well. Can you help me with a content plan for the next month? And it will. And then you bring your experience, your memories, your stories, and you create those posts in a way that AI doesn't have those memories, stories, experience, expertise, etc. But you've got the ideas, you've got the headings, and it's a starting point. And what also a lot of people don't do is realize that we all know people buy from people. It's very important if you're in professional services because they might know 5 architects who they're going to buy from, the one they know, like, and trust the most. Okay. And that's just how it is in any industry. So show a little bit of yourself, not too much, but, like you said earlier, we talked about, I like swimming. People might like that. Some people are really into their dogs or they're into rugby or whatever it is. We're all human as well. Just show a bit of yourself. So I tend to, Monday and Friday posts are a bit more personal. I try and make them relevant to what I do, but also drop a little bit in about me or my life. Maybe I like cooking, I did this. I don't want to turn it into Facebook, but I just want people to realize I'm human too. And, I have this background life beyond being thought leadership ghostwriter and strategist. So that's the thing where people's posts aren't landing. It just comes back to strategy. They haven't got a plan. They are just randomly posting stuff. And don't go off on a tangent. Don't go and post about something you saw in someone else's industry because it's not really going to help you. Do that somewhere else, maybe Facebook, LinkedIn, I don't know, Instagram. Don't do it on LinkedIn. Stick to what you know. If you want to be known for something, then just circle through, keep talking about it repetitively, because that algorithm won't necessarily show it to all your followers or contacts. So you don't know who's seeing what when. So just keep talking about the same thing. So everyone knows you're the go-to person. For example, John, he's the go-to for podcasts with an architectural spin on them. He's that guy. So whenever now I meet an architect, in fact, I think I connected you with a lady last week, didn't I? The week before. I met who was an architect. And I'm like, well, you have to meet John. You have to listen to his podcast. And that's now what I say because now you're the go-to. I know other architects, but I don't know other architects that do podcasts. So that's really your thing. And I like that. It makes you special.
Oh, that's very kind of you to say so. I love that you bear me in mind when you meet new people as well.
That's the benefit of your hard work over 2 years when you I remember meeting you 2 years ago at Atomicon, then you set this up. I've been following you on LinkedIn, and you wouldn't think someone like me, why would she follow an architect's podcast? But I followed that journey because I met you, I liked you, I thought he's a nice guy. This is interesting. I want to see how he gets on. Following that journey. And now it starts to pay off where I can, start connecting. You can see how it works. It's that long game, isn't it?
Absolutely. I've got a very quick question to ask just about your content posting schedule. How often are you posting on LinkedIn is your platform of choice? Just out of curiosity.
My goal is 5 days a week. Occasionally I'll do a weekend post. If it's a bit like last weekend, I did a post about building your content library. So that was a long form article on LinkedIn. And I think people have more time over the weekend to digest that. You'd be surprised how many people are asking over the weekend. So I thought that was a good time to post that. I don't think people have got time midweek, necessarily, unless they're on a train, or sometimes they do. But generally, everyone's sort of scrolling through. Oh, I like that, like that. What was it they say that we scroll? I don't know, the height of the Eiffel Tower every day. It's crazy.
Oh, no way. I'm sure some people are worse than others with that. Yeah, I try not to do too much content consumption and try and focus more on content creation. But I know a lot of people do like to sit and scroll. Okay, so in doing this though, what's the long-term effect of publishing quality long-form content? What happens if we stick with this?
Yeah, what's the compound effect? Well, I think we just talked about that, didn't we? So now you're starting to get the referrals, the recommendations, being known as the go-to person for XYZ. As I say, you are now. I'm just saying it. Any architect I meet, I'm like, I have to introduce you to John. Maybe you want to listen to his podcast. Maybe you make a good guest for him. I don't. That's a good connection. I think the people I meet after I've written a business book, so I help people with the time. People are starting to see me as the go-to person for thought leadership. So anyone they know that sort of wants to grow, has a bit of fire in their belly, wants to disrupt their industry, doesn't really know where to start, they'll send them to me. So the long-term effect is it takes time, but then you start to, again, get the opens the doors of speaking opportunities. So I've got a couple of things in the pipeline aside from this, which is speaking opportunities, and I'm hoping to do more of those. So it's about being recognized as that someone in your space who's an expert, because they've demonstrated that you've built the trust online by constantly talking about the same thing over and over again. People know your value. They know that you want to help them. That's something people forget as well about thought leadership. It's about giving back. We spend years building our careers and all this knowledge. And it's nice to share that with people who are perhaps earlier in that journey, at the start of their careers. Otherwise, sort of, what's the point? And you're creating a legacy for yourself as well, particularly people that write business books. A great legacy, it's passive income. So there are many benefits.
And I think if you're listening to this thinking that, oh, well, I'm not enough of an expert to do this thing. Like, I can't be a thought leader. That is just a narrative that you're telling yourself it's not necessarily true. It's not true because
thing, isn't it? Or
yeah.
the parrot on the shoulder that's saying, oh, you're crap. We all have that. Yeah. So it's very important to overcome that. That's right. You don't need to necessarily have been in an industry for 20 years or so. My background's translation. I did that since 2007. I still do some translation work, but I've evolved into this space through copywriting, and everything I've done so far has brought me to this point where I am actually very well set up to talk about it. As I said, bio you read out. In my industry, I'm now getting people asking me, can you please do a talk at Translation Conference? Because it's incredible how I started working with a business coach in 2018, 2019, end of 2019, became a copywriter, 2023 wrote a book about that. I was saying, I could see that I needed to pivot, that automation was heavily impacting my industry. The rates were going down. It wasn't going to get any better. And now we're seeing other people worried about their jobs. I feel like it's already happened to me. So then I got to copywriting. Then ChatGPT came out at the end of 2022. And, you can see how, in a way, I was looking at my industry. Nobody was saying, this is happening. You all need to retrain. Now they're saying it in 2025. Yeah. People went, can you please come and talk about it? Because you've now moved and evolved into all these other things. See what I mean? And so I feel like I do have some experience of having seen an industry go through massive change, and also having had a bit of foresight about I need to evolve. This isn't sustainable. And then that happened not only in translation, but in copywriting. And now I'm here and I'm like, yeah, I have a fire in my belly about this subject because it's kind of happened to me. And people need to speak up. Don't wait for your industry. Don't wait for the establishment, because the establishment doesn't want things to change. So often, it's almost like academia. They're kind of stuck in their ways and they want things to be status quo.
Yeah, it's so brave of you that, I mean, you were ahead of the curve with this. And I think that there are certainly in architecture that there's similar things going on. There's a lot of changes. There's new tools coming out all the time. And I think that the industry is going to be really different in a few years. You know, I just think that there is so many AI tools and automations and things that are coming out that I can't see things being the same as they are now. Like if you're still doing things the old way, then you're going to get left behind because somebody else is going to be able to produce work as well, if not better, than you've been producing in less time with less resources. And if you keep doing it the old way, then you are going to get left behind. So it's
exactly.
Definitely. But
it's survival of the fittest, isn't it? It's that evolutionary idea of Darwin, isn't it? Evolve or die. And I think that's so happening across the board in so many professions and industries. People have to realize that there's no such thing as a job for life or a career for life. Everything, we have to be very agile. We have to be creative. But it's not just about having ideas. The skill lies in implementing them. So you want to be a thought leader. You can see people in your space, the architects, if you can see what's wrong or look forward. Where do you see an architect's job looking like in 2028, 2030? Right, start working towards that. And I'm a bit anti sort of qualifications now because why? ChatGPT knows every language. There's no point me learning it. You know, I mean, unless I can do it for a hobby book. I'm talking about professionally. I don't see the value in it. What I see the value in is us having ideas about how to move our industries and businesses forward in a creative way, using AI as an assistant, you know, as it were. And I'm actually exploring an idea where I create a SaaS product using AI. And I think that's the thing, isn't it? And I follow Daniel Prissy. I don't know if you follow him. I like his take on things. But it's actually the creator's era. But we can't just be a creator. He says this, you can't just have those ideas. You have to do something with them. And that's clever. That's where the successful people are going to be.
You know, that's the difference. Yeah, I think that.
So start writing your content now. Build that content library is my advice to people. Become that thought leader. You don't have to have been an architect for 20 years. You just have to have the vision. You have to know what's happening in the next 5 years. You have to be able to see that. It's not about what's gone before. It's about what's coming next.
Oh, I love that.
That makes people a thought leader.
Something else I wanted to talk about before we wrap things up today is you also work with Property Connect Networking, which I think that's going to be really interesting for our audience. Could you share a little bit about that, please, and just tell us what that is?
Yeah. So Property Connect Networking has been running for 20 years. I'm the Director of Communications, and I work closely with Alex Butterworth and Keith Glenister, and they're the founders. So they set it up 20 years ago as a very informal, authentic, old school networking where you get together. It's usually in a pub. We have them up and down the country. People just talk. We don't have any speeches. We don't have any sort of 60-second, no pitches, no talks, nothing. It's literally you have to work the room. And we have some really, really high-hitting players coming. So especially our flagship London Bridge, which I co-host. I also co-host the Brighton one. We are growing that network. So we have people coming from the north down to our southern groups and vice versa. I recently in May, I was up at the Liverpool one. I'm planning on going up to the Leeds one and hopefully September. We've got our Dolph up there, James Mitchie. And we're just growing it because people are actually, I think post-pandemic, they're really craving that authentic face-to-face networking. And people don't always want to. There are plenty of groups that do the talks, that do the pitches, but that's not what we're about. We're old school, authentic networking. So it is designed for anyone in property, construction, or facilities management. So anyone in your listeners, you know, who's an architect, they're more than welcome to come along, and they will meet developers and other people that work in that space in those industries.
Sounds really good. Yeah. I feel like I should come along to one of these events and come and tag along too.
I don't think we've got one in East Anglia. You could open a group. We're always open to people who want to run a new group. You could perhaps have one in Norfolk.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah, well, maybe I'll speak to you about that.
one other thing about that, we're also looking for sponsors. So we've got our 20-year anniversary next year. It's going to be a big black tie event in London. Can't wait working on the details at the moment. So yeah, we're always looking for sponsors for those events, and we'll happily support you and, be part of our social media campaign if you sponsor an event, if anyone wants to do that.
Oh, sounds really cool. Well, I'll put a link in the show notes to the Property Connect networking as well, so people can find that and go and check it out, go and attend one of those events. Antoinette, what would be the main thing that you'd like people to take away from our conversation?
The main thing I'd like them to take away, not everyone out there probably wants to be a thought leader, not everyone wants to be in the limelight, but if you're on LinkedIn, please just take away what is have a strategy. Think about what you're posting, think about when, think about why, think about your target audience. What value can you add for them? What insights can you share? What tips can you give them that will make their life better? And just build that valuable content library. That's my advice for everyone.
Good advice. Thank you for that. Was there anything else you wanted to add that we haven't already covered about the topic?
No, I think it's been quite comprehensive. Unless there's anything else you want to ask me that you think I've not covered.
Well, I do have one more question that I want to ask, but it's not about the topic. So I love to travel and to discover new places. And I wondered if you could tell me one of your favourite places and what you love about it. This could be somewhere near or far.
Okay, for me, my favourite foreign destination is Florence. The reason being, when I did my first degree, which was in modern foreign languages, and I did French and Italian, I got my third year, I spent 6 months in Florence. And I was 21. This is, 1994? It's a long time ago, but it's before the internet. I remember coming back the year after, it was my final year, and someone in the library at uni said, there's this thing called the World Wide Web, and we've got one computer and we can look things up. I'm going to do that. There's a whole library full of books. Anyway, so it was a very different world. So I'd been to Italy once when I was 12 on a ski trip, but I'd never really seen how beautiful Italy was. So Florence is somewhere I absolutely love. It's got a very special place in my heart, and I really enjoyed living there for 6 months. You've got the history, your architecture, it's just beautiful. And it always has this kind of pink glow, is how I remember it. The sky is often pink. You can go up to Piazzale Michelangelo and you can look down over the city, and it's just stunning. Yeah, so that's one of my favourite places. If people haven't been to Florence, I highly recommend it. Make a great weekend away. There you go.
Absolutely. I visited Florence, it would be over 20 years ago now. So I was in my early 20s on a backpacking trip around Europe, and it was one of many places that I visited. And from what I recall, I think I had a great time while I was there. I don't remember too many specifics. I think my friend and I, a lot of our interests were more like, where's the pub? That was kind of. I
remember when I was there, I worked in an English pub actually, which was actually run by 3 Italians who'd grown up in Nottingham. It's very strange. It's not there anymore. It's called the Robin Hood. Because they're from Nottingham. But we had 3 Irish bars as well. I mean, I think that's the thing. Wherever you go in the world, there's always an Irish pub, isn't there?
Yeah, I would caveat this to say that now, if I go away, I am a bit more cultured than I used to be. I still do enjoy a drink, but I'm not like I was in my early 20s when it was very much
you have
just
different priorities, don't you, when you're in your 20s? I also think when people do sort of interrailing, it can be a bit overwhelming because you're seeing all these beautiful cities every day, a new one. But when you just go and spend time in one place, I suppose that focus is a bit like coming back to short form content. Long form content is like going to Florence on that. Okay. You provide that depth and that just more powerful experience. Whereas short form content can be a bit like, get on a train, get off a train. Okay. But where's the actual long term value?
Yes, I think they call it's like slow travel, isn't it? It's more that sort of approach. Yeah, which that sounds pretty good to me. So, Antoinette, I really enjoyed the conversation today. Thank you so much for being a guest on the show. Really do appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Where's the best place online for people to connect with you?
Oh, LinkedIn. Just find me on LinkedIn, Antoinette Chappell. Just Google.
Okay.
Yeah.
I shall put your LinkedIn profile link in the show notes. And thanks again. Oh, one other question. Would you like to tell us your website address as well, if people would like to learn more about you on your website?
So my company is called ARC, ARC Writing and Translation Services. You can find me at www.arc, so arc-wts.co.uk.
Perfect. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Architecture Business Club. If you liked this episode, think other people might enjoy it, or just want to show your support for the show, then please leave a 5-star review or rating wherever you listen to podcasts. It would mean so much to me, and it makes it easier for new listeners to discover the show. And if you haven't done so already, don't forget to hit the follow or subscribe button so you never miss another episode. And if you'd like to connect with me online, you can do that on most social media platforms. Just search for @Mr. John Clayton. The best place to connect with me online is LinkedIn, and you can find a link to my profile in the show notes. Remember, running your architecture business doesn't have to be hard, and you don't need to do it alone. This is Architecture Business Club,